Fake children must be brought to light. The royal family can't ignore Meghan and Harry's cat game. There's a lot of drama unfolding around Harry and Meghan lately, and it presents an excellent opportunity for the monarchy to reflect on its role in this rapidly changing world that we're living in. The scrutiny faced by the royal family really demonstrates the need for increased transparency, and also an acknowledgement of the complexities and the challenges faced by its members. We're living in a global society today, and the British monarchy needs to recognize that it's not an isolated institution any longer. Instead, its decisions and actions really resonate way beyond the borders of the UK. The Commonwealth, comprising diverse nations with unique histories and cultures, looks to the monarchy for leadership and guidance. As the allegations of deception and fraud are investigated, the royal family really needs to show their commitment to the rule of law and the principle that everybody, regardless of status, is held accountable for their actions. Upholding justice and fairness is going to make sure that the monarchy remains a symbol of stability and integrity in this ever-changing world. It is so important that Harry and Meghan are investigated for fraud when it comes to the invisible kids. Meghan Markle never gave birth to any children, come on. I'm also curious if the palace is going to claim that they have been deceived when it comes to the lineage of one or both of Harry and Meghan's kids, and I'm wondering if they're going to talk about the pain they feel at such a deception. Clearly, I'm talking about the palace and the king, are going to be taking appropriate steps to correct this misinformation and lineage by removing the children from the line of succession, along with titles from Meghan and Harry. At which point I think the king may very well offer his thanks for the country's understanding and patience at this time of sadness. A source has also spoken out to claim that King Charles did kick Meghan out of the UK after confirming proof that Archie and Lilibet are not real. But considering the fact that it's impossible to logically prove a negative, this is not a credible conspiracy theory. If we forget about the question of whether the suspicion is negative or positive, it's pretty easy to prove on both counts, birthing evidence through signed and witness OB reports, of which there are none, and then also paternal and maternal DNA evidence. Both are necessary to prove or disprove this surrogacy theory. I, for one, have not come across any hard evidence that proves that Meghan Markle really gave birth to those kids. She would have been standing on the hospital steps and smiling at the photographers with that baby on full display. Meghan Markle is never going to pass up an opportunity to be the center of attention, and banning Meghan from the UK seems very plausible if Charles had found out about the surrogacy and the lies when it comes to the birth of those kids. Why in the world would the palace stay silent on this issue, though? I mean, to me, that's even more reason for suspicion. But anyway, another big question I have is why in the world are Bryn Gringus and Stassi Schroeder-Clark remaining silent about photos of their children being used? Both have careers in the media. I have never met a mother or a father who would be okay with their child being passed off as someone else's. Even film stunt doubles get fully credited in their own names. And what about the fathers of these children? Don't they have something to say about it? Don't they care? They have to know what has been said so many times in the media. It is their own industry after all. Harry and Meghan are really the only ones who insist that there is an Archie and a Lilibet. Nobody else says there is. There is a very simple procedure to be followed for royal births, and there's a good reason for that. And I'm afraid at this point it is too late. The royal physicians were not there, and they cannot act as witnesses. What's done is done, and there is so much evidence that the two of them are liars. I think Meghan really did use that fertility clinic. You know the one I'm talking about, the one that shut down all of a sudden. What the result was from that, though, is not clear. Meghan paid an almost overnight visit to her mother from the UK to supposedly see how she was doing, and then right after that, she announced that she was pregnant, and that's when the bump fiasco started. I'm guessing some procedure by security was adhered to just under the radar. They couldn't have gone anywhere without somebody following them, even if they didn't realize they were being followed, both in the UK and in the US, which is exactly why the royal family knows for sure there are no children. Meghan is not more intelligent than a 1,000-year-old institution. The royal family knows the truth. Maybe we don't, but I'm sure they do. And these invisible kids are in the line of succession because the monarchy put them there. In doing so, the monarch basically guarantees that they meet the requirements. After leaking through palace sources that he was going to wait until they were 18 years old to give them a chance to decide if they wanted to be titled Prince and Princess, as was done with Edward and Sophie's children, the monarch bestowed upon them the title of Prince and Princess. And in doing so, the monarch implicitly guarantees that they did meet the legal requirements. I actually thought that after the coronation, the king would issue a letters patent to modernize the monarchy that would allow biological heirs to be the product of surrogacy. And I'm guessing if he ends up doing that, he's going to declare it as part of his modernization of the monarchy. At the end of the day, Charles is king, so he doesn't really have to explain himself. He doesn't really have to beg for understanding. A lot of his behavior towards Harry seems like he feels guilty for something. Many parents have a difficult time dealing with failed children, and it seems like they can't understand that tough love might be the appropriate thing to do sometimes. But we cannot underestimate the seriousness of this situation. These kids hold their position in the line of succession at the discretion of the king, and implicitly, this includes a guarantee that the requirements are met. But there are so many allegations of deception that have come out, and of course, people are talking about appropriate action by the palace and His Majesty because he is the reigning monarch. This air of uncertainty continues to loom large, and it's a problem. The truth is hidden. Rumors have been circulating through palace sources indicating that the kids' titles and position in the line of succession may be taken away after a thorough investigation. The monarchy has to deal with this situation with care and transparency. They have to acknowledge the public's concerns and empathy while also correcting any misinformation out there. I just hope that Charles can come out with the truth. I do not believe that many of his citizens are going to turn against him. I mean, everybody has skeletons in their closets, especially when we're talking about family problems. He needs to stop covering up for Harry, though. Harry has proven himself to be a traitor. The fact is, I would think a lot more highly of him. I would have more respect for him if he did that. And I live in the US. Either way, if something happened and Harry was going to be king, God forbid, I think most people would question the kids and their rights to the throne. And at that point, Harry and Meghan would have to prove those children are biologically theirs, that Meghan really was pregnant both times. They would have to show medical records of her appointments and stuff like that. But if it can be proven that they actually used a surrogate, then it would have to be gestational. The way it was announced by the palace was that they were told about the birth, which is not your typical announcement for the birth of a child. For example, when Diana birthed her boys, Catherine, and so on, the birth announcement was a statement of being told about it. Britain and the rest of the world would definitely sympathize with the royal family if they put out that statement. It doesn't really matter what Harry and Meghan say. They should be prosecuted for fraud, and also elder abuse and blackmail. They're guilty of all that. Meghan's got this new talent agency. Well, she's already upset another client of theirs, Cameron Diaz, because she acted like they were out having dinner together. Well, Cameron said actually she was just told to show up at this restaurant, and other people were there too. Perhaps he charged her a lot of money, and I hope that he did, because soon enough he's going to ditch her. After all, they're a business. They need to make their money as well. And you, what do you think about these kids? Please tell me your view below in the comments section. If you think my video is helpful, don't be afraid to like and share it with your friends and relatives who need it anytime you want.